Ready?
Already pressed.
Okay. I'm gonna call the City of Laredo Fine Arts and Culture Commission meeting to order today, the 24th day of April, 2025. It's approximately 6 p.m., right? Can we have a call to order? I'm sorry, can we have the pledge of allegiance? Flags behind us.
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Armando Lopez.
Present.
Melissa Amici. Absent. Dr. Marta Villarreal. Present. Gail X. Rodriguez. Present. David Cash Vasquez. Absent. Maritza Bautista. Present. We have a call.
Thank you. Under Roman numeral 4, you have before you the minutes of the last meeting that we had, for the minutes of March 20, 2025. Do I hear a motion to approve these minutes?
I move that we approve.
Okay, Dr. Villarreal moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Marita Bautista seconded. Any discussion? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the minutes, please say yea. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Do we have anybody signed up for public comments?
No.
No? Okay. Moving on.
Could I just make a quick announcement? Sorry.
Sure.
So, this upcoming Friday, next Friday, not this one, sorry, it's Caminante. I just want to remind everybody that coming up this next Friday, I believe that there's gonna be multiple, events happening throughout the downtown, well, the Laredo Cultural District. And then also just to let everyone know that, May 17th is Laredo's 270th birthday celebration, which will also include a lot of cultural stuff. I know Daphne Art Foundation is participating, Laredo Center for the Arts, Laredo Cultural District. So there's gonna be a lot of really cool stuff happening.
Cool. Okay. Happy birthday, Laredo. Roman number 6 is communications and announcements. Under section A, we have introduction to public art program manager.
So, we're here to welcome Miss Vanessa Filazola to the group. She's Public Arts Manager. It encompasses one whole division to herself, and this is a great start for the public arts projects and programs in Laredo. She is also going to be taking over as the liaison for this commission. I'll still be hanging on and hanging out and supporting as needed. But I'll go ahead and let you take over, and if there's anything you want to say about yourself.
Well, I want to say that I'm excited to contribute to Laredo's public art, and I look forward to collaborating and working with you guys, and of course, learning from you guys as well. And a little bit about me, I do multimedia art, so I do woodworking, painting, sculpture, and many other forms of art, and hopefully we can incorporate a lot of forms into our city. But yeah, that's basically it.
And thank you to everyone who was able to come to the informal meet and greet. So that was a lot of fun to hear from everybody. So thank you for that.
Welcome. I'm sure we're going to have moved forward a lot quicker than we did before. Section B is status update on Fine Arts and Culture Commission appointments.
Okay, so, for the mayor appointment, we already got in contact with the public information specialist, and they put us on the agenda for the next city council meeting that they are recommending someone. So we have someone for that. For District 2, we are still pending to hear back. And for District 5, we have a potential appointee, but the council member is going to be meeting with them next week to see. So we're making progress.
All right. Section C, status update on the standard operating procedures for public art projects.
Okay, so I'm working on completing the SOPs. So there's some areas that were left blank, or that I was adding to certain things based off of LAMP. So I was adding some objectives, some things on the process. like specifically on monitoring things to make sure that the projects are completed on time. And also a feedback mechanism so we can have feedback from you guys, from the people submitting the intake forms, from the community. So we want to be able to hear from everyone, especially from the community. So I'm working on that to add that into the SOP. And the other thing is that we're gonna be hopefully meeting with City Council on May 19th to highlight the SOP.
So just to remind everybody, this is a living document that's gonna be changing. We have been asked from city leadership because this has been an ongoing project when we were working with a consultant. So this is one stopping point where we're saying we have SOPs, but this by no means is the end. In fact, this is just the beginning of kind of refining these standard operating procedures.
I encourage you to send us emails for any input that you need from us on any of, like you say, you have blanks, if there's something that you'd like some input, I'm sure that they all,
Yeah,
the rest of my fellow board members would willingly give you their thoughts on any of that. So if that is what is, if any of that is holding you back, send it out and we'll all give you some input.
I have a question. So why were there blanks? The consultants didn't finish, or what are these blanks? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So, for instance, like it didn't get into specific details on certain types of the scope of projects. So it just gave us like a lot of recommendations. So I'm going in and doing research on the specific projects to fill in those blanks. And I know also in LAMP, it mentioned, what's it called? Like a potential way that we can have, emerging artists come in as well. So I wanted to possibly add maybe like a potential mentee program where if we have an artist doing a mural and that's an experienced artist, that we can possibly have a program implemented in there to help emerging artists.
And if I could just jump in, it was the same consultant who did LAMP that also did the standard operating procedures. They're meant to go hand in hand, but we don't want someone to have to take on LAMP in order to understand the SOPs. So I think she's just taking some information from LAMP, punching into SOPs to make it more coherent.
Right, that makes sense, yeah, I just wasn't, I couldn't remember about the blanks.
Yeah.
And the SOP
Yeah.
that was shared with us. Because I know that they were gonna continue to work on it, then there was like the pause because of the quote and.
So this is just gonna be refining it a little bit, so, when she presents at council, it is something that's a little bit more put together as a standalone document, rather than them having to refer back to LAMP, which is a monster, right, of a document.
Right.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on to
Did you get the whole lab presentation? Like I do, I have it at home, don't I?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be, there's an item under, actions. So if we need a refresher on that, we can schedule that.
I think they gave us copies of.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, moving on to section D, status update on annual public art grant.
I'll go ahead and report, because I did ask this question about how we should approach the annual art plan. And it is, I believe, also referred to in LAM. So what was advised, what was recommended was that, it comes from the public art manager, devised by her, and perhaps with input and ratification from the commission. And then it's presented to city council at the beginning of the fiscal year. So we're gonna aim at having it for next fiscal year. That doesn't mean we're not gonna do any projects, but
Right.
the actual presentation for the upcoming fiscal year will happen probably in October, the earliest. I think it recommends before the end of December. We wanna make sure we get on the agenda. Anything else you wanna add about that?
For that one, it's just basically that we're including projects that we possibly want to be able to work on throughout the upcoming fiscal year. So if you guys have any ideas or anything, just to let us know so we can include it into that.
I will say that now that we have a person and we know a little bit more about our funding, which we'll share on the next item, we'll be able to understand in a better way what we can actually put on the plan. Because the funding, the types of funding we're getting, they do have limitations.
Did the city commission any art for this celebration? Like a poster or?
So I believe through CVB, there are something's being done. But it was a little bit less money for us to be able to contribute to
Okay. So with that, on that.
that. For D, yes.
Okay. Item E, public art funding report. I think there's something attached to the,
Yes, so, we met with the Director of Finance today, and he basically informed us that with our certificates of obligation, 2% is allocated, for the public arts program or projects for that specific project. So like, let's say Parks and Rec has a project and it gets approved, 2% of that goes to us, but it has to be brick and mortar, so it actually has to be a physical thing that we would have to, implement.
So all of this in this report, this is current up to April 22nd. He did let us know that we should be spending it within 3 years, so we're a little bit behind, right? But he did give us some really good guidance, and he said anything that we want to do, we do need to clear it with bond counsel so that they can look into the actual legal contract to see what kind of passes as public art, right? They have to approve that. So, because I believe there might have been some instances where it didn't go through that process. And so even though maybe we had the public arts master plan, we're not really sure what that entailed, if it was LAMP or it was a master plan that.
It was LAMP, I believe.
It was LAMP. That is probably not something that should have been covered at the time. So brick and mortar only.
But we always knew that. But did you just say we have to spend that money in 2 years?
3.
3 years?
So that's what they're recommending. We still have the money, but anything that, I think what he said was like any of the interest that it's accruing does not come back to us. It has to be paid out again. So that is the recommendation, that we're not supposed to hoard money, we're supposed to spend it, and we assure them we're completely willing to spend it now that we know what the process is. We don't have access to the accounts. What would happen is if this commission recommends a project or an entity, some sort of department or for example, new structures that are being built by the city, they say we want to add art to it, they can tell us what they want, and that process of selecting artists would come through this commission. But it, of course, first, like let's say they're asking for a sculpture, we need to make sure that it goes to bond counsel first so that they can approve, because each of the bonds has a different legalese behind it, right? So each of these years are different. And then they are recommending, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's a lot of information today, but they were recommending that as new projects come up, because there's lots of new structures coming up, that we jump on board and say, okay, we need to put some public art there.
I thought they had to put public art there.
So from what I understand, they're recommending we put public art there. We still get that money, but we don't necessarily have to use it there. Once again, the example of the sewer, right? We'll get the 2%, but we're not gonna put a
Right.
sculpture in the sewer, right? Yeah.
So, I have a question. Have we always known where the funds are coming from? Like,
Yes,
because I know we've gotten this report before, but, I mean, because it doesn't have years, but I'm assuming this is from last year.
well, it does have years, so
Where is it?
Of each section, it has the year.
so the first one is 2019.
Oh, I see. Here
Yeah.
it says 2023.
And so all
Okay.
of funds are available,
Right,
but they're different certificates of obligation.
right.
And so the first year, I'm thinking before they had the commission, we're trying to figure that out. Why it was broken up by district in 2019.
Gail can tell us.
Hold on, run glasses. That's to see far, these are the see close.
So I'm new to this project, so is Vanessa, and the finance director is also fairly new.
Where do you see it broken, what are we looking
So
at?
on the first,
2019.
first page, 2019, and then it has District 1, 2, 3, et cetera. And on the other certificates of obligation, it's not broken up by district.
Oh, I see. It was never, as far as I knew, broken up by district. There was a sum of $2 million that was, I'm sorry, 2%, right, was it?
2%, so what I'm seeing was 330,000 was the total at that point,
At which point?
that year.
2019.
The first
Yeah.
one.
Yes, okay, but isn't there, I think there was more money than that.
I mean, not according to this report, so that's what we're trying to figure out, but I guess it doesn't really matter, except that if we go back and try to use the money, if it is now tied to that district, is the question we'll have to ask finance.
But originally, didn't they get 40,000?
Each
The,
district.
well, the allocation, it looks like it's different for each
Yeah,
district.
it looks like it was close to 40,000.
Yeah, uh-huh.
40,000.
It
There's like
was-
45.
wait a minute, it was $2 million.
I don't know, I wasn't here back then.
Wasn't it?
But here, according to this.
Because don't you remember when they were talking about using the money for the water issues?
Yeah.
No, that's in total, we're talking about
Right,
just
that's
for
in
that
total.
year.
Right.
Yeah, that's just that
Oh,
year.
that's the total, yes, $2 million. Okay, yes.
So, I mean, but regardless, we have this money to use. We're also gonna have some meetings about, because there may be some overlap with TERS and with, hotel, and occupancy tax, that we can like collaborate with those projects, especially downtown.
Well, they had asked us, Tears, we had all kinds of meetings to pick mural artists and we picked them and then
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
happened.
So now we're gonna move forward stronger, and we're gonna try and get this done with our program manager.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Obviously, yes, we have 3 years to spend the money, but because we've been kind of held back for different reasons.
Yes.
Like, are they willing to be flexible with that?
My understanding is yes.
Okay,
We just have
okay.
to make it a goal in the future to spend it within
Right.
that amount of time.
Okay.
Everybody has been very helpful to us in the different departments. Everyone wants to see us succeed. And it
Okay.
seems like more and more, council members as well are interested in using the commission to oversee, all these public arts projects. Yes.
So what happens when we spend this money in 3 years?
So there's different certificates of obligation each year, so we're going out for the bond revenue, the election, right, that if it's approved, we will get 2% of those, different projects. And right away, I would recommend that we go straight in for any new building and say we're.
But I thought that was already given, that was always gonna happen. That's what I understood. There was
So-
always gonna be 2% of any bond, new bond, structure, whatever, bond funded structure, always. That's what I
Yes.
understood.
That's true.
So that's like what we're getting, but we wanna work with them to implement the public art in that specific project, because we'll already have the funds no matter what.
Right, right,
But-
that's, I mean, I knew that, that we would always have input or find a way to get art into any of these new projects, right? Because the money's allocated.
Mhm.
So, I guess whatever it was that they accepted as, part of the city's ongoing commitment to art, is that there always would be 2% allocated, always, in continuum, and not just like, oh, for this
So-
year or next year.
Yeah, so let me clarify. So what I'm recommending is that we jump on board we kind of make it a priority to go in right away to new facilities, new structures, new brick and mortar projects, rather than looking back and saying, well, we had this amount tied to this building.
No,
that's
no,
been
no,
spent.
no, I'm not looking back, I'm just saying, we've never done anything with that money. We've never, ever since they allocated it, it's just been supposedly there, okay. So now we're saying, we're gonna do, they broke it up by districts, here's $330,000, $330 for art, okay. So, fine, this is for the upcoming year or whatever. We're gonna begin to spend this money or we're gonna allocate art. But what I'm saying is that it's supposed to happen every year. It's not
Yes.
supposed to stop.
Well, actually, it happens, it's attached to a bond.
Right,
Or
right.
brick and mortar.
Exactly.
So it's not 2% of
No, I
everything.
know, I know that, I'm just
So,
saying.
but what's the question, I think, is the.
That we will always have funding to go forward, is what I'm saying. I thought
Yeah.
that was the understanding that
Sure.
I had. There would always be monies put towards art for a bond.
You're absolutely correct.
Okay.
Okay,
That's all.
so the next question is, for example, Hamilton Hotel, $10 million on this bond, right? 2% of that $10 million. I think that would be a very easy place to go put public art.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Hamilton is begging for it,
Right.
right? So for that project, what Gail is saying is, okay, but we've got a.
That's only if the bond issue.
That's on this card.
That's a big
but-
if.
So now we need to identify other areas in the city that we can use the accumulated money already, correct?
Right, exactly.
Okay,
So my recommendation is, because it can be very overwhelming to say, okay, now we have money, now we have a person, and there's all these opportunities, is for us to jump on board with what's being built now, so
Mhm.
that things open up with public art.
Mhm.
okay. So what's being built now?
Well, we can talk a little bit about a project, and it's not a building, but it is a walkway. I don't know if you wanna describe it.
Yes, it is the Cesar Chavez Walkway, that they're gonna have it downtown, and we met with the engineering, division to basically walk us through everything. And basically, they're gonna send us all the location, pictures, and they want to know what we can do with.
So-
Between Convent and Flores on Zaragoza, headed to the bridge number 1.
Yes, and there's gonna be 2 archways,
Yes, that's
Yes.
that's the plan. So we just heard about this today, we had a meeting today. The engineer's gonna get clarification on his end as to what is possible, because, there are limitations, because, we can't do any demolition in that area. But, he's gonna get clarification on what they want. We're thinking, or he's thinking, that they're gonna want the arches designed by, there's gonna be 2 arches, and they want them designed by artists. Another possibility would be painting on the pavement. And also, since that's also an entrance from people crossing over, there's a great opportunity as they come in to provide something. But he wanted to get a little bit more clarification on it because it's kind of a delicate area, and there's trees overhanging, and there's storefronts, and so there are some limitations. As soon as he gets that back to us, we're gonna share it with you.
What about lighting? Beautiful lighting. I know that we.
Yeah, like installments of
Yes,
lights.
that's a possibility. Once again, we just need to go back to the bond council. Every time we have an idea, we present it to the bond council, and they look at it and see if it's allowed through that particular bond funding. Right now, we have options. We have money in all these different bonds. So we do have options. If it doesn't fit under one, I feel like it would fit under another. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm learning.
So, yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
think that's great.
And a lot of people there were involved in the actual painting of that street the first
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it's
You
pretty.
know, I was out at that in the heat, doing the grunt work while the artists were doing the beautiful work. You know.
Right.
But the Cesar Chavez walkway, and it's that one block between La Posada and the actual bridge.
The one that comes right off the bridge,
Off Convent,
Yeah.
you hang a
where
right,
the tack room is.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So the
there's
question is
that
that-
walkway, that area too.
That was where we were supposedly gonna get a mural painted through Tears. We already had the candidate and everything, and then they just didn't do anything.
Yeah, so there's groundwork for that,
Yeah, the wall that belongs
It
to
was the-
La Posada, right?
right?
Right, that, yeah.
So that's good, because se presta.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would be great too, as projects come up, if we can get photos, images of
Yeah.
where these spaces are, so we can really think of how we can incorporate public art.
Sure.
So the engineer's gonna provide that as well.
Yeah, that would be great.
Who's the
Because
engineer?
that'll be
for-
helpful.
Aaron Gonzalez?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're gonna send us
Oh,
pictures
these
and then
are-
also
huh,
the
these are
dimensions
things
of
that we
everything
already spent
as well,
money on.
so.
Only the
This-
first one, only the
Okay.
first one.
But these happen.
And there's still a balance on the
Yeah,
first one.
no, it's because I was looking at all these murals.
Yeah, those are the ones that are already up.
Yeah.
And someone that you all were, I mean, I know there was a committee, a subcommittee that worked with.
Mm-hmm.
The council.
They would, we had X amount of money, and then we would send out a
We-
request for artists to submit their murals, and we would vote, and then they would get their murals painted with the money that was allocated.
The extra step here was that we had to get any private landowners to approve
Permission.
and offer up their
Right,
wall for paint.
yeah.
But it was exciting, let me tell you, to be at a site. It was like, okay, this is real now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Well, just right now, in your, there's a media about, $2 million for the river,
Oh, yeah.
for the park, for that by
River
National Park.
Vega, the River Vega, or what's it called?
The-
The
yeah.
park on the,
The
they're
funding
cleaning
just got
up.
approved for that by National Park, $2 million, which is probably a drop in the bucket, but it's, again, we're free to, because that's all city property, right?
Right, so whenever you see that, shoot an email to Miss Vanessa. And she can start working, yeah, we
Yeah.
can start talking to people.
Wasn't the North Central Park mural done by RGISC?
I don't think so. I
There's-
think that's the one that was for, Victoria Marquez.
Oh, okay, because there's several there. I know the
There are
first
several.
ones were done by RGISC.
Yeah, there's some, and there were some through Beautify Laredo or whatever.
Yeah,
There were a
That's the
lot
one
of
that
different
Mauro did.
organizations doing
Yeah.
it, because also I know the schools were
Pancho
participating.
Farias has a small one there too.
yeah. I know Tony Briones worked on one, and Sandra
He did
Gonzalez,
the
and,
Father McNamee.
Mauro has one,
Maro has the one on
the birds.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, it's there by the dam.
Yeah,
And I wonder why District One and District Three didn't use any other money.
Because they were saving it for us to use it. These other ones were commissioned by city council people.
Okay.
What they did was, they decided to have art that they bypassed this art.
Yeah.
And then the people that didn't spend it was for us, they wanted
They
our
were
input.
waiting for us to.
No, well, they weren't waiting, you know, because we didn't have a procedure set up, but what they were doing was making sure that we would have input as part of the project, the city art plan. The other people had individual,
Right.
projects that they wanted to spend the money on.
I'm confident we're gonna get some projects going soon.
I'm sure.
We're getting support from all levels of leadership, so, and then with your expertise, and your oversight of that selection process, I mean, we're gonna see a lot of success.
Let's just pray the bond goes through so we can have some money.
I mean, but either way, there's gonna be other building projects and we'll still be receiving,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, those are the big ticket items. But I'm sure like a police one and the fire, that they're gonna want public art in their
In their-
buildings,
yeah.
so. And then the one that's interesting is the paving one, the city street plan, because,
So how would that work?
well, I mean, somebody creatively would come up with something, like McAllen, you know, if you go down like the big Vega that they have down there, they've got street art all over the place, around projects.
You're absolutely right, I think we need to look towards other cities that have accomplished that project before and get some best practices from them.
but street murals have always, I mean, you know, the people do that, and, I mean, there's just tons of different things that they can commission.
Yeah.
And then just keeping in mind that we'll probably need to use some of the money to do some upkeep or conservation of any of the art pieces. There should be, I mean, I think from your input, we'll understand the lifespan of a particular piece and have expectations about that, but if it's something that's supposed to be long lasting, we need to put money in that as well. What I'm understanding from finance is that something that would be covered by our bonds, by our 2% from bonds. Any other questions about the funding?
So the interest that's, I think that what they were trying to make clear to you is that the interest that's being generated goes back to the city. It's
It goes back to,
the general fund or whatever,
well, so the interest is, I think up to 3 years, the city can keep the interest.
Right.
And if not, it goes back to whoever issued the bond.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's why they're recommending that to it, but we're not like penalized because we've been sitting on the money.
Okay.
It was just a recommendation.
Is there a possibility, I mean, again, it would put a lot of pressure on you, that we have one agenda item a month maybe? Where we go and tell them, okay, this is where we're at, we want this, we would like to,
I don't know if it would make it on every month,
okay.
but certainly I would recommend quarterly or at least, twice a year. Especially when we have a project, they're gonna be asking us to make presentations, it won't even be necessary for us to try to be put on the agenda.
Hopefully that's true.
Yes, but as it is, Vanessa's is probably gonna be on the second meeting, on the agenda for the second meeting of May.
Okay.
I think that's a wonderful idea. At least they'll know that we're alive.
Sure. Yeah, do you have any ideas, or will you shoot those to us through email? As you, and right now that you've had this meeting, you understand the finance component.
Yeah, I have ideas, and then also like going through LAMP, it also has a lot of recommendations for things that we can do. So I can definitely send you guys an email with information, with stuff that I think would be a good thing that we can implement. And I know that we also met with the engineer, mentioned the painting stuff into the actual, not the cement, but the pavers and stuff.
Okay, yes.
So there's things out there that we can do, and I'll contact you guys and let you guys know if you guys are
There's so much here in LAMP
Mhm.
that our challenge is really trying to
narrow down.
right,
Mhm.
and prioritize what we wanna do.
And since we want to collaborate with different divisions, because they're gonna be, fixing things up and doing things, and that's where we're getting, the 2%.
We need the buy-in from risk, from engineering, from all these different, from
Mhm.
finance, but we are seeing a lot of positive
Mhm.
support
Yeah.
from the different departments.
Okay. All right, are we done with that?
Just wanted to add, Frank Mata, finance director, is willing to come and visit with us at our next meeting. So
What's
he
his
can give us an
name?
overview.
Who's that?
Frank Mata, finance director.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you guys are open to it?
Also, I think when we started, we also had communicated to the community that if they had any ideas about art projects, that they could come and present them here. And I think we actually accepted a few.
Okay.
So that's another thing, to extend invitations to the public. Like that statue that they put, what's her name?
Where?
The woman of the water, or the.
Yeah, that one, that was presented to us here.
Yeah, but that was also through that project with was Viewfighter Radio, wasn't it one of
I
those
think so,
projects?
yeah.
Yeah, but she came and made the whole presentation.
Yes, they did.
here. Yeah.
And with the SOP, there's an intake form that they can fill out there and specifically put everything down. So when they submit it, or I'll be the one that's in charge of it, so then when we have a meeting, I can present it to you guys.
Right, but how would we get that announcement out to people, like the general population? If you have an idea for art in your community or, you know, something, go through this process, like go through that, and then there's a committee who will look at your project.
Just like an open call.
Yeah, kind of, but just maybe every so often we announce that, or it gets announced to the public, right? If you would like to see your artwork in a neighborhood in Laredo, this is the process that you can go through. Cause there's probably a lot of people out there who have no idea about even that this exists, and that maybe they might have a great idea, or there might be a group that has a great idea that wants to have an art project in their community, right? Maybe communities that don't get a lot of attention. So that would be a good thing to be announcing, that you can submit ideas for art in your community through this group or whatever.
What does
So
LAMP
maybe-
say?
So LAMP says, that, for one thing is that we need to do the community outreach,
Right.
and that each district or each person, or that's your district, that you guys should be getting feedback from,
Right.
you know, the people within it. So, what I wanna do is set up like a survey and stuff online, and then also for us to have workshops and
Yeah, I
stuff
think
where
that's
we're
a good
getting
idea.
information out there. And it breaks down also like different organizations we can meet with, you know, like the Keep Laredo Beautiful,
Right.
the university, the college, the districts, that we can meet with them and go over this intake form, so it seems less intimidating.
Right.
But
And
we
the
want-
art organizations.
Yeah, yeah, of
Yeah.
course, all the art organizations, that's a given.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that we wanna
Can you use that?
be able to make it
I just wanted to
accessible.
point it out, the art organizations.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, basically it's gonna be like a collaborative effort from all of us
Right.
to get the community to be aware that we have this SOP, we have an intake process, and we wanna make it simplified, and part of us not using LAMP, using the SOP, is to make it as accessible and less intimidating to people. So that's why I'm also trying to make it a little bit simpler, from our end, and then also from the community aspects end as well.
So maybe we could also, just cause I mean, I know that the city website is always like changing, or sometimes it is. But will this division have a page? Cause I feel like this is information that could go on a city page where, there is like an ongoing open call, maybe where just artists can
Right.
submit,
Like a separate intake form, but then
Right.
specific projects.
right, but I
that
do
you wanna
think it's
include.
important to have it, the LAMP accessible as a downloadable
Yeah,
form. Cause it was, and then the city removed it, I don't know why, I think cause they were updating, but,
Well, they paid for it.
it's still a really good
Right,
resource.
shouldn't they pay for that?
It's a really good resource,
Yeah,
like
it
for
is,
people
yeah.
who are interested, because
Mhm.
it does give you ideas, like a potential.
projects, and then
Projects.
looking at
Yes.
ideas, and then fill out the
Mhm.
intake form.
So the library website is sort of separate from the city website, and so we're not gonna be reliant on other departments to keep it updated or anything. We can do that,
Mhm.
have a separate section for public arts.
Yeah, and then we also wanna be able to put, like, document all the
Mhm.
art projects that we already have in Laredo. So that's another thing that I'm working on is, you know, doing that GIS, mapping, so we'll actually have a full outline of all the art, the public art that we already have, and then continue to build it from there.
Doesn't one exist?
The CVB, I think, has.
So they have
But it's just for murals.
Murals,
Yeah.
that was just for murals, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I wanna do all the research and get all the information which from you guys as well, so we can make it as detailed as possible, like the artists, hopefully if you guys know, like the year that it was put up, you know, the name of the piece and stuff, so we can have a fully fledged place where anyone can go and see not just the murals, but the sculptures, the mosaics that you were talking about as well.
Oh my God, they're so good.
And what is it, the stuff that you were talking about as well with the poetry and whatnot, so basically where anyone can go and find it, and, you know, you can actually
So
show
there's a lot of
public
moving
art.
parts, and and so we just wanna make sure.
Does the convention, the city convention and visitor bureau have guide for people from out of town who wanna come see stuff?
I think they do.
Yes, but it's limited,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
Yeah.
she's trying to flesh that out a little bit.
Good.
Yeah, and then we also spoke with them and they said that they can add a QR code to the brochure that they're gonna make, with the map of like all the different murals. So when we do have everything, you know, mapped out, we can contact them and add that QR code so people can scan and it will direct them to our page.
The most current one will always be the online one.
Do they have the performing arts as well? We need something that has both the fine
Right.
and
I
performing
agree.
arts, so that anybody wanting to come to Laredo, they
Like
wanna
the
know what's going on.
Like the Philharmonic Orchestra,
Everything that is happening.
Yeah, but-
like all that stuff.
I think
Music,
the key
dance.
there is the link to the school that's sponsoring it. Like, for example, if it's Laredo College, you know,
But let's say like the plays that are going on
sure.
Plays, right.
and all that.
All the
And
drama.
it should all be,
Yes.
because nobody's gonna be looking at the separate,
Yeah. I
you know,
agree.
you're coming to Laredo, you wanna see, hey, what's going on?
The
I'm gonna
arts-
be there
the
next
arts
week or
community.
whatever.
To me,
Right.
though,
Every
that's more
aspect of it.
under a CVB.
Every aspect of the arts community.
Okay, but events that are going on, it's more under CVB, the kind of the reason why people are
Yeah,
visiting.
they're the ones that should
Yeah.
benefit from having a community calendar.
Right,
you know.
right, but I just wonder, is there one available, do you know?
It really, it depends, I mean, I don't think that there is. I think that each individual group publicizes their event, but there should be a place
There should
with the Convention and Visitors Bureau for
Yeah,
people
some-
to link up to those.
CVB.
And I think they probably have or should have something where they can do the link, where you go there and it'll
Yeah.
tell you what
Yeah.
LTGI is doing, what the Radio Little Deer is doing, what the Philharmonic is doing, and so forth.
Normally, in most cities, it is under, your visitors.
Yeah, they have a
webpage,
what to
right?
do in
Yeah,
Laredo.
event calendar, they do have an event calendar, but I don't really know how things
think
get
we have
onto
one
the event
here.
calendar. We can ask that of Miss,
The Chamber of Commerce used to have,
Yeah, but
yes.
they don't have that.
huh?
I don't think they have that very much anymore. It's the, what's the building down there by the Porta?
That is the Convention and
Okay,
Visitors
yeah,
Bureau.
they're the ones that
Right.
Well, they should
That
be
we-
doing it,
that
I mean,
we-
if we're promoting the city.
rely on
Right.
the most.
That's their job.
That's the job.
But our part in it, if we can provide geographic information, it's
Yes.
gonna be a layer on the map, so they can toggle on and off and be able to know where all of these, forms of public art are located. So we're not really looking at performances, more at structures, things that they can go and visit.
Brick and mortar.
Yeah, brick and mortar, so we're focusing on brick and mortar.
Yeah, we can focus on other, the commission
Yes.
can, but this,
No, I understand that.
Yes, yeah.
But like, we should also try to maybe contact the Chamber of Commerce or Convention and
Yeah.
Visitors Bureau and say, hey, we think, our little group thinks you should have stuff going on for people to know where there's a play, where there's music, where there's whatever. I mean,
And what events are
it's
coming
kind of,
up?
it's kind of like, you know, hit and miss and, you know, this group announces and that's, but if there was more of an effort to kind of bring that all together by somebody, and I would think would be Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Yeah, they should.
But I do know that the Chamber of Commerce used to have what's going on in Laredo. They would have like a little booklet that you can pick it up, and I don't know how often they were publishing it. And the only reason I know that is because we used to have meetings for the Bookers Association in their building. And so I would see those things, and I always thought that was a great idea, you know, and they put them in the hotels. They were dispersing those to hotels. So somebody come and stay and say, hey, well, what's going on here in this town, you know? Because that's really important for visitors, Convention and Visitors Bureau.
They know what's happening
Yeah.
every month, you
Yeah.
know, like the Laredo Theater Guild has
Yeah.
everything that they're gonna be doing throughout the year, all the plays, the
Right.
dates and everything. When I
Right.
look up, because I love to go to San Antonio
Right.
and look at the place, I know how soon I can get,
Book
tickets
it,
and
yeah.
books, because
Yeah.
because it gives you the whole year.
Yeah.
And here, I mean, you try to do that and you don't have that information unless you go directly and look up the
To
Radio
each one,
Theater
yeah.
Guild, or you go and look at, the Philharmonic.
So maybe we can help influence them to do more things like that. I don't know, maybe, that's something, I mean, we live in this town and everybody's always saying there's nothing to do in Laredo.
I know.
Because they don't know.
They don't know.
There's no information. And so, I don't know, maybe we can,
Well, there is information I think the main issue is the coordination of that.
exactly.
I mean,
Or
I
it's
think-
But-
last minute
But
information.
if people
but you
don't
have
know
to
where to get the
understand-
information, it's like we didn't have
Right,
any
exactly.
information.
But, I don't have to say, but you have to understand. I think what we have to understand is that if LTGI has an event going on May 4th, and Caminarte has something going on May 4th, and, a lot of times, you don't wanna be telling other people about other stuff that's going on. You're pushing your own program. And so it's the hub that has to gather the information and give people a choice.
It has to be for the benefit of.
Well, that's why I mentioned the Chamber of Commerce,
Yeah,
or.
yeah. But the Chamber of Commerce, do they still get city funding? No, not anymore, right?
I don't know.
I know. I think they used to in the past, and now
That's
the
why they-
focus of the money went to the Convention and Visitor Bureau.
Well, then,
But we
It's up
can
to them.
focus on what we can contribute to that, and then I think the easiest way to let your ideas be known is to email CVB directly.
yeah, and they actually used to come to these meetings.
Yeah, Eileen is very willing to
Yeah.
come and visit with us.
Yeah, she used to come to all the meetings. So, well,
I know that they're out of town a lot,
oh, okay.
but we've
I
met
spoke
with
to
her and she's very.
Miriam said she was
Yes.
gonna hook up with us again now that you were.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have a meeting with her. I think she's out of town as well, so I think mid-May we're gonna be meeting with her.
Okay, all right, let's move on to to letter, actions, right? That's what we're
Yes.
next, okay. Discussion and possible scheduling of a LAMP, Laredo Arts Master Plan Workshop for Fine Arts and Culture Commission members. Okay,
This had been mentioned earlier about kind of having a workshop.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be an
Well-
open meeting, but
yeah, well, what I was gonna suggest there is that we amplify it and invite all the arts groups. That we host
okay.
all the arts groups, because the library is a place that has a room, and bring somebody, and then have them all come, the Philharmonic, LTGI, everybody come and hear about this program, because I know a lot of people do not know the details of what LAMPS is.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And so, I mean, let's kill a bunch of birds with one stone, But,
But I think that would be a good idea, because it kind of plays into what I'm saying.
yeah, no,
So
I
if they-
agree.
If they realize that there's this ongoing, group or committee or organization or people who are promoting the arts in Laredo, right? And trying to get more art in Laredo, in whatever capacity that is, then just the fact that they could be invited to hear about this arts master plan, and then maybe we could even get, like, what I'm thinking is that somehow, some way, everybody is contributing to a roster of events that could be accessed by anybody who's visiting, or even just us as people who live here and we wanna know what's happening this weekend.
Yeah, well, it would be a great opportunity for the conventions and Bureau to be able to physically put something in someone's
agree.
hand that says,
agree.
here's where you need to send your information, because you need to send the information, because that's the way it gets done.
Yeah.
You send us your information, what are you doing, which shows are you having, whatever,
What's your schedule,
but
whatever.
here's the contact person at the city. Right?
Right.
And then if you wanna get stuff out for May, you have to have it in by April. You wanna get stuff in for July, because the city deserves the right to for us not to call them like 3 days before and say, hey, publicize this.
No, I know, that's why maybe we need to start that ball rolling.
Yeah.
So
And-
for the
and-
LAMP, I have a question, I'm
yes.
sorry. Would this have to be facilitated by Up Art Studio?
No.
Or can we just do it
We can just do it.
as a commission?
Yes.
Okay.
So what I was thinking, and how I understood it, So I'm glad we're talking about it. How I understood is because it's been several years since LAMP has been out, that we would rehash it together, make sure we understand kind of like the important parts, highlight the role of the commission in it, so we know what we're doing. If we are gonna be opening it up to kind of, I guess, reacquaint the community with LAMP, I don't know that we would do it that way. I think it would be better if we're gonna be talking about processes that are actually in place, the protocol to actually get your art out there and how we can collaborate. I think that's a little bit different than a LAMP workshop.
Right.
Yeah, which are both valuable
Right,
workshops.
maybe the lab workshop is for us.
Yes.
And then the other part is
Because
for
then
the
if the
community.
bigger one, I would probably say, okay, now that you are very fluent again, or maybe if it's new to you, it's new to me, right? Then you're taking part in providing the instruction as well.
But then we could have like, what Mondo's saying, have like a big meeting here of all of the arts.
All the
community.
stakeholders.
Everybody who wants to get the word out about what they're doing for Laredo in Laredo. And that would be really, you know, jump-starting what we all want. Just, let's get the information out there.
Okay, so that's an event, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure we have a budget for it now.
Maybe, I don't know, we can figure out, maybe
Yeah.
we can get, council members to put up some funds, you know, they have discretionary funds, who knows?
Right, right.
I mean, it's in their best interest to have events going on in their district, so.
So for this particular one, would you want a LAMP workshop?
Sure.
for this group?
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
my only thing is my preference is to do it when we have all the appointees.
Yeah,
Okay.
So we don't start
Yes.
like
Doing
on
it
stretch
over and
again.
over, trying to
Yeah,
orient
cause I
everybody.
do think we all need to reorient ourselves with
yes,
what's in it.
absolutely.
But if we do it now, I mean, not that it's gonna happen now, but like if we do it sooner rather than later and we still have vacancies, then it's gonna be like the same problem.
Yeah.
So
that
we
we've been
might just
having.
say, let's wait until a certain point,
Right.
right? We can give ourselves a few months.
Yeah.
Right, because this sounds promising that the mayor has someone on for the
Yes,
next, council, agenda, and that there's a potential appointee for District 5, which would mean we would only have one vacancy.
Right.
And I feel like it should happen,
I think you're right.
right?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, the mayor was out at the Cesar
Yeah,
Chavez
he
meeting
told me.
today.
You want anything from there, you have to ask his son.
So should we look at
The son is running.
midsummer to kind of reconvene about this particular item, the LAMP workshop?
I think that's a good
And
idea.
then when we have we're trying to establish a budget for her division, because right now there isn't a budget, except for her salary, that would kick in next fiscal year. So then we can look at
An event.
an event.
Promotional items?
Well, we're trying, yeah. We're trying.
Yes, we need promotional items.
So we all know the kind of, how should I put it, the challenges we're facing right now. And so we are under, a lot of what we do falls under grants and things like that. So things that may not be funded anymore would have to be funded with our current budget for different projects. So we're gonna be meeting
How
with
hard
some
did y'all get hit on
challenges.
that?
Fortunately, we are funded primarily through city, through general fund, but there are some areas that we're a little bit concerned about. So we don't really know, what we've heard from our, the Texas State Library, where we get some funding and some discounts, is that we're okay for this fiscal year.
Let's hope for a
Yes.
miracle. Let's hope for something.
We're staying positive. And if not, we're gonna have to have a contingency plan for that. And tighten the belt. Okay.
Okay, I think that's the last item that we had, except for scheduling of the next, or agenda date, place and time.
Typically, we meet mid-month, right? We just push this one because of the holidays.
Third Thursday of the month.
Okay, May 15th? How does that work?
I can check.
Okay.
That's actually the back week for me. I may not be able to make it, but just because I have a show that opens the following day, and I
Okay.
know I'm gonna be like
You're
in
opening on the
install mode.
16th?
Should we push it a week? May 22nd?
Which one is it, the air open?
May 22nd at 1:30.
5:30.
Oh, okay, she's.
5:30. I'm thinking of court.
Awesome.
So is there a motion to, motion to meet on May 22nd at
I
at
so
5:30?
moved. I second.
Motion by Martin, second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Yay.
Yep.
Adjourn.
Anybody have any additional announcements? I'm just urging people to go vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Whatever, I'm telling you how to vote, just go vote. All right,
It's still
did
voting.
you,
It's-
did you wanna
Yes,
cover this,
it's very
thing that we got from
Early voting.
city secretary?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't know if you wanted to.
We've adjourned, so it'll be at 6:57, and we'll
Okay.
turn off. It wasn't on the
It wasn't
agenda.
adjourned.
Okay,
We're
okay.
adjourned?
So,
We're adjourned.
I heard a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Then we have to-
Yeah.
Oh,
Second.
I moved, she second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.